And we are live. Hey guys, I am Summer Mulder, founder of The Draw Shop, and we are going on our 7th Backstage Business Live episode here. And today I have Lisa Fabrega coming on. We're going to talk about so many good things. Here she is. I am going to let her in right now.
Hi,
There she is. Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I notice like every time there's somebody, I need to like adjust I've got I got this really cool desk at Costco. It's like
Mhm.
the stand up goes up and down. It's really cool. So I can
Yes,
stand and sit throughout the day.
I need to get one of those. I've been dying to get one of those.
It's awesome. So hopefully we're both in mute here. There we go. Well, welcome. Welcome to our Backstage Business Live. I'm so excited. You were on the podcast and we talked about so many good things. So I just wanted to bring you on here and let you interact with some of our live people that are watching. So welcome, Lisa.
Thank you.
Um, let's start the way I always like to start with who you are, what problem you solve, how you solve it, and how you make people's lives better.
Yeah. So I'm Lisa Fabrega, and I work with ambitious people who want to expand their capacity to hold, handle, and receive more wealth, impact, and success. And that's what I do. So the reason this even came about is because I've been doing this for 11 years. And the first few years of my business, I started noticing that the people I was working with were really smart. They knew all the strategies, they knew the things they needed to apply in order to create the success they wanted, but it wasn't enough, or they would hit a plateau and then no strategy was helping them bust past that plateau they had hit. And it's because it really had to do with the fact that they didn't have the capacity to receive the results that they were working so hard to achieve with those strategies. So I help people expand their capacity for more growth, wealth, and success.
So awesome. And what's the result of that? Once, what are how is their lives transformed after that?
Gosh, I have 11 years of client stories as an answer to that. But I find that when you can expand your capacity, that first of all, you can navigate the challenges because the people I work with, they are very growth oriented. So they get to one level and they're ready to go to the next one. Okay. Like I've achieved my first 7 figures. Now I'm ready to go to 8 figures. I was just working with a client who was talking with me about that yesterday. And but it's one thing to say you want to make 8 figures, for example, but do you have like what you need capacity wise to be able to handle that? Do you know what to do with that amount of money? Do you know like what kind of support systems you need in place in order to create that amount of money? Do you have any beliefs that are hidden in there that didn't come out when you were making 7 figures that are now starting to come out as you're going for the 8 figure mark? So all of that is capacity work. So I've seen clients go from being stuck at 500,000 in revenue for several years and like going to every business mastermind possible and still not being able to get past that hurdle, to like working with me for 4 months and all of a sudden being on track to make $1 million that year. I've seen people who had completely built this super famous business be like, I hate it. I just want to close it down and walk away. And instead, we realize it's not that you hate your business, it's that you don't have the right support systems in place. You don't have the structural capacity that you need so that you can take time away from the business instead of being in it all the time. So, capacity shows up in so many different ways. It can show up in how you're showing up visibility wise, how you're showing up for your purpose, what's going on for you structurally, what's going on for you with your boundaries, what's going on for you emotionally. And so I find that the results that my clients see are just like holistic. You know, they'll see complete changes. I have clients who are like, my marriage was about, we were about to get divorced, so my marriage is saved now.
Yeah.
And you know, so yes, more of what you want is essentially the result without feeling like you can't handle what you really want, which is the
Yeah.
big fear I hear from a lot of people.
Well, that's what I want to really dive into today because I mean, that is so common. People set goals, they get excited about that goal, but then they're immediately deflated when it doesn't happen and they don't understand why because it's but I want this. This is what I want. Aren't I just going to attract that into my life, or isn't it just going to happen now that I've made this goal, and I'll just do the things I need to do and check off this box and that box? And so many times people get frustrated, and like you said, they'll just shut down. They'll just, you know what, not worth it anymore because it's just too stressful. So I want to talk about how do we avoid that, and what are the things, maybe, even starting with what's going on in our mind. What are the signs that that you might have a certain mindset that's, whoops.
My phone fell, sorry.
Is that a sign?
That's a sign your phone's falling while you're doing it live.
Yeah, what are some things that people can identify with to go, oh, this might be what I am struggling with? I think it's a new thing to hear about capacity. What does that mean?
Yeah. Well, capacity is something I've created. I mean, the word capacity is not something I created, but what I do is very bespoke. It's very unique. It's a framework I've developed over the last 11 years. And when people hear me talk about it, they're like, oh my God, that's the thing. It's so I've never heard of this, but this is exactly what I need. So I think signs that you're having capacity issues are that you are you can set a goal and say this year I'm going to go for this, right? I'm just going to pick something this year I'm going to go for 7 figures, right? But it's not just just find the perfect funnel to make those 7 figures happen, right? Or
right.
This year I'm going to get my raise. It's not just read the book that's going to help you have the conversation with your boss to get the raise. It's what needs to happen internally inside of me to be able to be the person who makes 7 figures. Who do I need to be the person who gets that raise? How do I show up in meetings? How do I show up when I ask for the raise? And so I think that if you're having persistent thoughts, if you get really honest with yourself, if you're setting a goal and there's a part of you that's a little nervous about how it's going to happen, or you are nervous about whether you can handle it happening to you, or what if I get there, am I going to be able to handle if negative comments come out of this, or am I going to be able to handle making that much money? What do I do with all that money? Or am I going to be able to be a good manager to the kind of team I need for this goal to happen? If you're wondering whether you can handle it, or thinking maybe you can't, and so you're discounting your ability to reach that goal because you're afraid you can't handle it, that's a really a red flag for a capacity issue. Yeah. The other thing is, if you keep hitting a plateau, let's say you've just been hitting this revenue or income ceiling for the last couple of years, and no matter what you try, you just can't seem to move past it, that is also a capacity issue. That's definitely a sign of a capacity issue. I think there's also individual signs because there's 6 different capacity issues. So if you are finding that you are hiding a certain part of you that is essential to who you are, but you're not showing up in your business because you're oh, people are going to think that's weird, or people are going to be turned off by that. That to me is a sign that there's a capacity issue going on. If you feel overwhelmed, a phrase I hear a lot, I really want to grow, but I don't even know how because there's so much on my plate already and I'm so overwhelmed that growing means I'm going to have to do more and I don't even have the bandwidth to do more. So how am I ever going to do this? That's a sign you've got a capacity issue going on. Yeah. If your money isn't growing every year, if you're earning and saving and investing isn't growing, that's also a sign of a capacity issue. If you've got team members who keep quitting, or who you repeatedly hire people who are underperforming and not doing their job, also the sign of a capacity issue. Do you have trouble saying no? Are people running all over your boundaries all the time? And you're starting, again, that's part of why you're so busy because you're doing so many things for so many people. That's a sign of a capacity issue. Being afraid that who am I? Why would anybody think that? Why would anybody want to hear from me on this topic? Or, am I really worthy of this? Those are also signs of capacity issues. So those are just a few of the things I've heard over the years that capacity issue.
That's huge. I mean, I've done that myself, especially when there's things that you're excited about and you have big goals, you want to reach a bunch of people, but there's that voice saying, will people really care? Or yes. what if they don't like what I have to say? Will they judge me? Will they this? And that's a big fear that people have. How
Yeah.
do you, let's just talk about that one, because there's a number of things that, you know, you listed. I think that a lot of people are just like, yep, me, that's me, that's me,
Yeah.
that's me, that's me. You know, even when you're doing this kind of work, but people, I think just being aware of it and acknowledging that that's happening is huge. But
Yeah.
let's talk about that fear of wanting to do these big things, but fear of what other people are going to think, or will they judge you?
Yeah. What particularly do you want to talk about with that in terms of capacity?
In terms of, yeah, in terms of, you know, wanting to, people that want to show up big, they want to maybe launch something new,
Mm-hmm.
but it's the fear of failure. It's the fear of nobody responding to it or liking it. And I feel like that's a big thing for people.
Yeah. I think that is a embodiment capacity issue, which your embodiment capacity is your emotional, your spiritual, and your mental capacity. I also think it's a little bit of a visibility capacity issue, because worrying about what other people are going to think about what you're putting out there or not being accepted is a really good way in which your ego likes to sabotage you into not doing it. And so what I would do in that case is try to go deeper and understand what are you really afraid of, right? So what's the core issue that's happening here? Because if you care what everybody thinks, you're never going to make it, because you're always going to upset somebody. And a lot of the times it's not because you've done anything wrong, it's because people project stuff onto you all the time. And so building capacity is also being able to go, yeah, that's a projection. I don't know why you're saying that to me, but that has nothing to do with me. That's your deal, right?
Yeah.
So for me personally, I'd want to examine like what particularly is going on with this person, that they're afraid people are going to judge them or nobody's going to want to listen to it. I would want to go into a time in their life where they may have felt that way, or where that was modeled to them in their family. Or sometimes people have these families that are like cults, you know, like you can't deviate from this framework of being and existing. And in order for you to really like live your purpose, you've got to step out of that. So there's a lot of work that I would do with that person to just make it feel more safe to your nervous system to deviate from the norm that's around you. And one of the things that I always say to my clients, it's why I always have group elements for even my one-on-one clients. They get to join my group program for free, because you need a group of people who are normalizing what you're trying to do, because they're doing it too. Because sometimes what we're doing is so different than what other people around us have done, that we need some people to make us feel like we're a little less crazy for wanting to do this or for wanting to speak about this. And honestly, I would say that if you're polarizing, or if you are like triggering people, sharing like a positive message, I would like, that's a good thing. It means you're shaking something up in their subconscious, and that's a good thing. It means you're unique. It means you're not just the same vanilla like stuff that everybody is spewing. And that, even though you might trigger people, now you're in their heads, like you're stuck in their head because you're different, you're unique, you're not saying the same thing everybody else is saying.
That is so true. I love that so much. And I think if we just think of ourselves and how we respond to other people, you might agree or disagree with something, but often those times that you disagree, it caused you to think differently. It caused you to have different thoughts. And, you know, if you're just pleasing people all the time, you're not really invoking any kind of change or growth.
Exactly. And yeah, for sure. I mean, I always tell my clients, like, it's a badge of honor when you get your first troll comment. Like, I always go, congratulations.
I love that. That's like, people should hang that on their wall.
Yes.
When you get that negative thing, like that's a badge of honor. You were, you know, it's true, because if it wasn't important enough to them, they would just scroll right by. But you invoked something, and that is a good thing. And I think that that's how the best conversations happen, is when, you know, there's a difference of opinion. So it's great.
I've had people who like signed up to work with me one-on-one in like one of my highest price packages, who told me in the conversation, like, 2 years ago when I found you, you annoyed me so much and I would get so triggered by you. But like, see, like I was triggering something in you and you stuck and you listened.
Yeah.
And like I stuck in your head enough that 2 years later you signed up for my most premium package to work with me because you started realizing like, oh, I've got to face this stuff, which is why she was triggered. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, that's so cool. What are some of the scarcity, the signs of a scarcity mentality when it comes to money that people may have? Because this is huge. This is, I think this is like one of the biggest things.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I could talk about this for like 3 hours.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's so important. Okay, so one of my favorite ones, which I know people are going to get triggered by me saying this, which I don't care, because we got to talk about it, is, well, it's not in my bank account, so I can't do it. I can't afford it. Now, listen, I'm not saying be irresponsible and like put yourself in a financially difficult situation. That's not what I'm saying. But when it comes to money, like we have to think so much more expansively. Like just because it's not there in your bank account doesn't mean it's not possible. Doesn't mean you can't create it. Doesn't mean you can't think outside of the box. And that's the thing with money is the way that we get taught money societally is like very structured and in a little box. And especially people who are entrepreneurial, people who are here to do different things, we have to think differently and more expansively about money. So for me, I never let my bank account determine what I can and can't do. I'll say, okay, well, what do I need to do to create that, right? Or if this is not happening, what do I need to do to make this happen? Because I really believe that money wants to come to us. Money wants to flow into our lives. It's us that's blocking it, or it's us that's, like misdirecting it essentially. So one of my favorite stories about this particular scarcity thing I see with money that people do, or like we get taught to budget, right? Like only spend, this much on Starbucks every week. But does that actually make you feel expansive to like not have your Starbucks? Because if it makes you feel restricted, you're actually restricting your money. You're like constricting your ability, your feeling around money. And if you feel constricted, abundance can't flow into a container that feels constricted. So one of my clients once wanted to sign up for this very premium package to work with me. And she didn't have the money in her bank account. And she said, give me 36 hours. I really want to practice my money mindset with this and think like the person who would be able to invest in this. Give me 36 hours. I will come back to you with the money. I said, okay, 36 hours. The clock starts now. She came back to me in 24 hours with the full amount and paid in full.
Oh my gosh.
And she told me, like when she signed up, she was like, I don't even need to do your program now because the expansion that I just had and having to come up, like to do what I did out of my comfort zone to come up with that money just has completely changed my whole outlook on money. And she literally, like when she did that, she said she didn't need my program, but she did it anyway, and she did need it. But she was like, I got everything I needed from having to make this decision. But then I think she was charging clients like $3,000 to work with her. She went from that to $65,000 because of the mindset shift she had to make to come up with the money to invest in the program. And she had ended up like going out and asking a friend if she could borrow the money from him and would pay it back to him at interest. And he like invested in her, and she like gave it back to him within 2 months when she got her first $65,000 client because of it. So
wow.
that's a really common one where it's like the money's not there. So that means the money doesn't exist. No, the money exists. You have to go find it. So I want y'all to like start thinking bigger, like not about what's in, obviously don't be irresponsible. That's not what I'm saying, but I want you to think beyond what you think you can do or what's concretely in front of you, because that's how people who play with large amounts of money think.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. And there's so many things that I think people, it's kind of just like in their, it's like programmed in their mind of, I can't afford this, and I think it starts from, just with parents saying that, oh, we can't afford this. Kids want to do something instead of going, well, let's figure out a way.
Yeah.
If this is what you want to do, I will always say that to my kids. Is this something that you really want? it's not like, well, we can't afford this or that's too expensive. It's like, okay, let's figure out how are you going to get those shoes or the things that you really want? What can you do? And it
Exactly.
is that whole, it's there. Like if you really realize it is there, the money is
Yes.
there, the things that you want are there. It's about what are you going to do to get it? And it does start
Yeah.
with, instead of just going, okay, here's the list of the things I need to do. It starts first with really believing like that you're the person
Yes.
that can go and get that.
Exactly. Exactly. And that right there is a capacity thing, because sometimes you don't know how to envision yourself or be that person yet. And so that's part of why we do capacity work is, well, what is that version of me? How does she
Yeah.
or he behave around money? I often ask my clients when they invest in working with me to make the decision from the future self that already has the money they want, because that is the person, like you have to start making decisions from that perspective in
Mm-hmm.
order to become that person.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm sure, we're not going to cover all that in our next 9 minutes. But are there, like, what are, a few things that people could do just to get into that, like, who is that? Who is me as an expansive thinker?
I love to actually go into the internet and do research, and I'll make myself little collages um, on a like an Evernote or whatever app you want to use for that, and I'll find pictures of people who embody what I want to embody in that area that I want to grow. I'll
Yeah.
find quotes or things that I read on the internet, and I'll just put them all together into like a little vision board on my phone so that I can look at it every day and I can see like, okay, like J-Lo in that thing embodies this energy of wealth that like I want to embody. And so like maybe watching that video makes me feel that way every day, or maybe like just looking at that picture of J-Lo brings the feeling into my body of what it feels like to be that person. I think
Right.
also just literally acting as if, like taking small steps and asking yourself, well, what would that person do? I heard a great story about Oprah. Oprah is like my biggest role. I'm falling. Sorry.
No, you're all
It
good.
just keeps falling off of my computer.
This is how lives go.
Oh God. Anyway, I'm just going to hold it up with my hand. Oprah was on Trevor Noah recently, and he was like, do any like normal person things ever like happen to you in your life? Like, do you ever run out of toilet paper in your bathroom? And she's like, no. Like, she was so matter of fact. She was like, no, that would never happen to me. And she was like, in fact, when I go to the bathroom, the little corners of my toilet paper are completely folded. He's like, every time you go to the bathroom? She's like, yeah. He's like, so it's somebody's job, like every time after you pee to like go fold the corners of your toilet paper? She was like, yeah. And I was like, oh my God, I love Oprah. Like, just imagine.
My mom does that. She does it herself though. She's like that. You ever go to their house and it's like immediately the toilet paper's folded. There's never out of toilet paper. It's so funny that you're saying that.
But I just love that she has a person whose job is to do that. And some people might be like, oh my God, what a diva. I don't see it that way. I think if I was in my old money mindset, I would see it that way. But the way I see it is like Oprah values her time and her sense of well-being so much that she has people take care of all these little details in her house. And not only that, but she has a team that cares so much about her that they do those things for her, which means she's well supported. So
Yeah.
like you can see it from one perspective, which is, oh, what a diva. Oh God, I will never act that way. Or you can look at it like, wow, maybe this person has something to teach me, or they're operating on a different level. And like, maybe those are actually some smart things to observe. And how can I bring some of that into my daily life right now? It might look like, telling the house cleaner who comes and supports you every week, my God, I tell mine all the time, like, you are an integral part of my business, because
Yes.
without you, I would not be able to do this because my house would be a mess. And it could be something like just making sure that the person who comes and cleans your house puts things in the right place when they put them away, so that you're not like spending 15 minutes trying to find where they put it, right? It could be something small like that, because that preserves your energy. All those little misalignments, all those, like whenever you have to go find that pot because the person keeps putting it in the wrong cabinet, like that's draining your energy. And so you could even start looking at little ways where you can embody that type of energy you want to embody. And what are those little ways?
Yeah, I love stuff like that. It's why
Yeah.
I love to have things like there's certain things that I just do in the mornings, you know, like making sure that like the kitchen has to be clean, the bed is made. There's things that just like you said, preserve your energy. Because for me, it's like if there's clutter around, there's clutter in my brain.
Yeah.
And the you know, I need to be in like I like things to be clean and organized. And
Yeah.
gosh, it's been hard because we've been going through a remodel inside our house. So it's not, you know, not everything is
Yeah, that
totally
disrupts
settled. And I'm like,
everything.
I'm like, it's totally affecting my brain. I at least have to have this space be organized where I can, you know, focus. But no, it's so true. Those little things end up being really big things. It's like the little hinges swing big doors, right? Little tiny things like
Yes.
that actually make a big difference.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge. And the more impact, the more visibility, the more people you serve, the more people you have on your team, the larger your impact and influence, the more those little things make a massive difference. So
Yeah.
that's why Oprah has somebody doing that with her toilet paper every time she goes to the bathroom. It seems like a diva thing. Sorry, I'm about to sneeze, but it's not. It's energy management. I keep having like a fake sneeze
Just
that
like
wants
it's
to
gonna.
come on, but it doesn't come on.
Oh,
Anyway,
I get those all the time.
yeah,
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I love all of that kind of stuff because it's less overwhelming too when you just make little changes like that. It's little tiny things and it does cause you to think differently. Like it
yeah,
definitely those things change your mindset.
yes, 100%. And it changes how you operate too. It changes how you show up. And then when you change how you show up, you start magnetizing. So if you show up at level B, you're going to have level B things come to you. If you show up
Exactly.
at level D, you're going to have level D things come to you. You're going to be able to handle things at level D, you know? So
Yep.
it's really like what comes first, the chicken or the egg? I think both.
Yeah.
Both happen
No,
at the
it's so
same time.
true.
Yeah.
And I think this is just stuff that we experience on a day-to-day basis. You feel it when you're like in a good mood, your energy's high, you start to see the different things, like things kind of go well, like you keep attracting that same type stuff. Whereas
Yes.
if it's something else or somebody just, you know, dumped on you a bunch of negativity, now all of a sudden you took on that negativity and now you're attracting more negativity throughout the day. It
Yeah.
definitely is. I totally believe it's an energy thing, and
Mm-hmm.
energy attracts energy. You can just be
Yeah.
around somebody and go, you can feel it if you're drained or like, oh
Yes.
my gosh, or chaotic, I'm worn out
Yeah.
now, you know, or oh my gosh, this person is so uplifting and bright and inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, just being mindful of that, and then realizing, you know, the things that you're saying to yourself in terms of like the scarcity mindset. Oh,
Yeah.
I couldn't do that. Or of course
Right.
I want that, but I couldn't do that, or I couldn't afford that, or I couldn't possibly reach that level.
Right.
So if
Exactly.
anything, just today, biggest takeaway is think about those things. Are you saying that to yourself? And also my favorite was, what did you say? It's like a badge of honor to get your first
Troll
negative
comment.
troll comment. I love that.
Welcome to the big leagues.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, that's a good thing. People are paying attention. It's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, there's so many good things. Well, we're wrapping up here. I want to tell people, outside of following you here on Instagram, where else can they learn more about you?
I'm Lisa Fabrega across all platforms. So you can go to my website, lisafabrega.com. I'm here obviously on Instagram, Lisa Fabrega. I'm on Facebook under the same name. I'm on LinkedIn under the same name. If you go to my
Perfect.
website and you sign up for my email list, you can actually get a really cool video that walks you through 3 questions that help you figure out why nothing is working for you, even though you feel like you're trying everything.
And what's your website? I'm going to type it in the comments here.
It's lisafabrega.com. So it's just my
Everything's Lisa. It's so
name.com.
easy.
Yeah. That's why I did it, because that way you can just remember, you know, one name, it goes across all platforms.
Exactly. I love it. Sweet. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for spending time with me today and our viewers. This was so good. We'll put this back up on Instagram, on our channel, on YouTube, and Thank you so, so much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Bye, everybody.
Bye.